What if I told you that one ordinary-looking meal, something you could realistically eat starting tonight, has been shown in scientific studies to improve blood flow, reduce arterial plaque progression, lower inflammation, and directly support the body's natural ability to keep arteries open and flexible? And that this meal works better than many supplements people spend hundreds of dollars on every year? Most people believe clogged arteries happen suddenly, like a pipe that gets blocked overnight. But the truth is far more uncomfortable and far more hopeful at the same time. Arteries clog slowly, silently, over years, sometimes decades. And because of that, they can also begin to heal slowly and silently when you give your body the right signals. The real danger isn't fat or cholesterol alone or even aging. The real danger is believing there's nothing you can do once plaque has started forming. That belief has cost millions of people their health, their mobility, and in many cases, their lives. Today, I want to walk you through the single best meal pattern ever studied for arterial health, explain exactly why it works at the biological level, and show you how to use it correctly so your arteries get the maximum benefit instead of accidentally sabotaging your progress. This isn't hype, it isn't a detox fantasy, and it isn't about starving yourself. It's about understanding how your blood vessels actually respond to food, meal by meal, hour by hour. To understand why this particular meal stands out above all others, we need to talk honestly about what clogged arteries really are. Arterial plaque is not just fat stuck to the inside of a tube. It's a living, inflammatory process involving damaged artery walls, oxidized cholesterol particles, immune cells, calcium deposits, and a constant cycle of injury and repair. Every time your blood sugar spikes too high, every time inflammatory fats dominate a meal, every time oxidative stress overwhelms your antioxidant defenses, the inner lining of your arteries, called the endothelium, takes a hit. Over time, these hits add up. The endothelium loses its ability to relax and widen, nitric oxide production drops, blood flow becomes restricted, and plaque slowly grows more unstable. This is why two people with the same cholesterol numbers can have wildly different heart health outcomes. It's not just what's floating in the blood, it's how the artery wall itself is functioning. Now here's the part most people never hear. Your arteries are incredibly responsive to what you eat, and I mean immediately responsive. Within 2 to 4 hours after a meal, researchers can measure changes in endothelial function, blood flow, inflammation, and oxidative stress. Some meals temporarily stiffen arteries and impair blood flow. Other meals actually improve vessel flexibility and increase nitric oxide availability within hours. That means every single meal is either pushing you closer to plaque progression or pulling you back toward arterial repair. There is no neutral meal. And when scientists began comparing different dietary patterns head-to-head, one type of meal kept outperforming the rest for arterial health in both short-term and long-term studies. The best meal to unclog your arteries is not a single magic food, but a specific combination built around whole plant foods, healthy fats, and powerful antioxidants, with one critical protein source that most people overlook. This meal centers on a large portion of leafy greens and colorful vegetables, paired with legumes like lentils or beans, combined with extra virgin olive oil, nuts or seeds, and optionally fatty fish, especially when transitioning from a standard diet. This pattern, often referred to as a Mediterranean-style plant-forward meal, has been shown repeatedly to slow plaque buildup, improve endothelial function, and significantly reduce heart attack and stroke risk. In landmark studies like the Predamid trial, people following this type of meal pattern had dramatically fewer cardiovascular events, even without calorie restriction. Let's break down why this meal works so powerfully, starting with leafy greens. Leafy greens like spinach, arugula, kale, and romaine are rich in natural nitrates. These nitrates are converted in your body into nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your arteries to relax and widen. Nitric oxide is essentially the lubricant of your vascular system. When nitric oxide levels are high, blood flows smoothly, blood pressure drops, and plaque becomes less likely to rupture. When nitric oxide is low, arteries stiffen, pressure rises, and damage accelerates. Studies have shown that a single meal rich in leafy greens can measurably improve blood flow within hours. This isn't long-term theory, it's immediate physiology. Next come colorful vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, onions, broccoli, and carrots. These provide polyphenols and antioxidants that neutralize oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is what turns LDL cholesterol from relatively harmless into oxidized LDL, the form that actually embeds itself into artery walls and triggers immune attacks. When you flood your system with antioxidants from whole foods, you reduce this oxidation process. This is why antioxidant supplements often fail while whole foods succeed. The synergy of compounds in real vegetables works in a way isolated pills simply can't replicate. Legumes are the unsung heroes of arterial health. Lentils, chickpeas, black beans, and kidney beans provide soluble fiber that binds cholesterol in the gut and removes it from the body before it can re-enter circulation. But they do something even more impressive. They feed beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, which directly reduce inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. Better insulin sensitivity means fewer blood sugar spikes, and fewer spikes means less endothelial damage. Multiple studies show that people who eat legumes regularly have significantly lower rates of heart disease, even when calories are equal. Now let's talk about fat, because this is where confusion explodes. This meal does not eliminate fat. It chooses fat wisely. Extra virgin olive oil is a cornerstone because it's rich in monounsaturated fat and polyphenols that actively reduce inflammation. Olive oil has been shown to improve HDL function, meaning it helps your good cholesterol do its job of removing cholesterol from artery walls. Nuts and seeds add additional healthy fats, magnesium and arginine, another building block for nitric oxide. When eaten in reasonable portions, these fats support arteries rather than clog them. For those who include animal foods, fatty fish like salmon or sardines can be part of this meal, especially during transition. Omega-3 fatty acids reduce triglycerides, lower inflammation, and stabilize plaque so it's less likely to rupture. This is critical because most heart attacks occur not from slow narrowing alone, but from sudden plaque rupture and clot formation. Omega-3s make plaques calmer and more stable. Equally important is what this meal avoids. It avoids refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar. It avoids processed meats that damage the endothelium. It avoids trans fats and excess saturated fats that impair nitric oxide production. It avoids ultra-processed foods that flood the bloodstream with inflammatory compounds. When you remove these stressors and replace them with healing foods, the arterial environment changes dramatically. One of the most powerful aspects of this meal is its effect on post-meal inflammation. Most people live in a constant state of low-grade inflammation because every meal triggers an inflammatory response. This meal does the opposite. It lowers inflammatory markers after eating. Over time, this creates an internal environment where repair can finally keep up with damage. Think of it like stopping the constant scratches on a wound so it finally has a chance to heal. Another overlooked benefit is blood viscosity. Thick, sluggish blood puts more strain on arteries and increases clot risk. This meal, rich in hydration, fiber, and plant compounds, improves blood flow characteristics. People often report warmer hands and feet, better endurance, and improved mental clarity within weeks. These are signs of improved circulation. Now here's a crucial point. This meal works best when eaten consistently, not occasionally. One salad a week won't reverse years of damage, but one properly built meal per day can begin shifting the balance. Many people start with dinner because it's easiest to control. Over time, they notice blood pressure improving, cholesterol markers shifting, and energy returning. Doctors often attribute these changes to medication alone, but diet plays a massive role behind the scenes. It's also important to eat this meal in a calm state. Stress hormones constrict blood vessels and counteract nitric oxide. Eating slowly, chewing well, and avoiding distractions enhances digestion and nutrient absorption. This may sound minor, but physiology doesn't separate mind and body the way we do conceptually. As we move forward, I want you to keep one idea in mind. You are not trying to force your arteries open. You are creating conditions where your body can do what it evolved to do: maintain flexible, responsive blood vessels. This meal is not a cure-all, but it is the single most powerful dietary tool we have, supported by decades of research for improving arterial health. In the next part, we're going to go deeper into the science behind plaque regression versus stabilization, clarify whether arteries can truly unclog, and address common myths that keep people stuck, including the idea that once plaque is there, it's permanent. We'll also talk about how quickly you can expect changes and how to combine this meal with lifestyle habits that multiply its effects. One of the most common questions I hear is whether arteries can truly unclog, or if all we can realistically hope for is slowing things down. This question matters because if you believe damage is permanent, motivation collapses. The truth is more nuanced, but also far more empowering. In medical science, we separate plaque change into two processes: stabilization and regression. Stabilization means the plaque becomes less inflamed, less likely to rupture, and more fibrous and stable. Regression means the total plaque volume actually shrinks. Both matter deeply. A smaller, stable plaque is far less dangerous than a large, inflamed one, and both processes are influenced by what you eat every single day. Multiple imaging studies using coronary angiography and carotid ultrasound have shown that intensive lifestyle changes centered around plant-forward meals can slow, stop, and in some cases reverse plaque buildup. This doesn't mean arteries suddenly become brand new, but it does mean blood flow improves, symptoms decrease, and risk drops dramatically. What's critical to understand is that plaque regression happens slowly and quietly. You won't feel plaque shrinking, but you will feel the downstream effects, like better endurance, less chest tightness, improved blood pressure, and more stable energy. The reason this meal pattern supports regression starts with inflammation control. Chronic inflammation is the engine that drives plaque growth. When inflammation is high, immune cells called macrophages invade the artery wall and consume oxidized cholesterol, turning into foam cells that form the core of plaque. When inflammation drops, this process slows, and the body can begin clearing debris. The plant-forward Mediterranean-style meal consistently lowers markers like CRP and interleukin-6, which are directly tied to cardiovascular risk. Another key mechanism is endothelial repair. The endothelium isn't just a passive lining, it's an active organ that senses blood flow and releases chemicals that control dilation, clotting, and inflammation. When you eat meals high in sugar and refined fats, endothelial cells become dysfunctional. They stop responding properly to blood flow and produce less nitric oxide. Over time, this dysfunction becomes chronic. The meal we're discussing restores endothelial responsiveness. Studies measuring flow-mediated dilation show improvements within weeks. That means arteries physically respond better to changes in blood demand. Blood sugar control plays a massive role here, and this is where many people unknowingly sabotage themselves. Even people without diabetes can experience damaging glucose spikes after meals. These spikes generate oxidative stress that directly injure artery walls. The combination of fiber, healthy fats, and protein in this meal slows digestion and blunts glucose rise. Instead of a sharp spike followed by a crash, you get a steady release of energy. This protects the endothelium and reduces insulin resistance, which itself is a major cardiovascular risk factor. Let's talk about protein for a moment, because fear around protein often leads people to extremes. Protein is essential for repair, including repair of blood vessels. Legumes provide protein without the inflammatory baggage of processed meats. They also come packaged with fiber, minerals, and phytonutrients. If fish is included, it adds highly bioavailable protein along with omega-3 fats that actively reduce inflammation.
The mistake many people make is relying on protein sources that come with excessive saturated fat, sodium, and additives, which counteract vascular benefits.